Welcome to Q2Q. My name is Monique. I have a background in tech for live entertainment and have for the last few years been working in sound in commercial musical theatre in Australia. Every single day I receive messages and comments asking for advice on how to get into theatre, how to get jobs in sound, and the difficult truth is that there is no one linear pathway into a career backstage or in entertainment in general. I can only share my story of what I did and how I got here, but there is a whole world of positions, performance styles, education, backgrounds, and career progressions that I have no experience or knowledge in, which is why I created Q2Q, inviting other actively working professionals in theatre to share their stories and ask them your questions about their work.
Members of the company, this is your Act 1 beginners call. Cast, can you please make your way to ready mic checks and stand by for the top of Act 1? Crew, can you please make your way to headsets and band to the band truck? Your Act 1 beginners call. Q2Q, go.
Please introduce yourself and give me like a little rundown of your career.
I'm Bella and I'm Deputy Head of Props and Puppets at Beetlejuice.
Props and puppets.
Props and puppets.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I studied stage management at VCA. Within that course, you kind of do a bit of everything, but like I specialized in stage management. And then I graduated and just started like working in like a lot of audition rooms just as stage management for shows like Wicked in Chicago. Slowly through that, I met some people and started getting like swing work. I knew that I wanted to go into musicals. The big ones just it looked like big and fun and like there's lots going on. Yeah, just kind of kept getting more swing work. My first one was Mary Poppins as their Props ASM swing. That's kind of where I met everyone who I still work with like to this day. I haven't been working in the industry that long, but I've managed to jump across a few shows, mainly as a swing. Did a kids show for a little bit as an ASM and then mainly working in stage management as well. Groundhog Day, ASM. I was on Moulin Rouge as props for a bit and then did an international tour of Matilda as an ASM for a little bit. Went to Singapore and did Miss Saigon and then this kind of just came up out of nowhere and it's my first like transition into a deputy position, which has been amazing. And I'm working with some really amazing people who are really helping me fill the gaps in my knowledge that I have.
You would have worked with Jemima on Mary Poppins.
Yeah. And we kind of just kept in touch. When the position came available, she put my name forward and here we are.
I'm Tulloulah. I'm Deputy Head of WHAM. I kind of fell into this line of work. I was a hairdresser first. I started at like 15 and I wanted to work in like film and television. And then my dad's girlfriend was like working in the local community theatre and she was like, well, why don't you come work on Mamma Mia, see if you like it and then see if you want to keep going down like the film and television route. So I did that and I really liked it and I just kind of kept doing it but sort of thinking that I would still go into film and television. And I did for like a tiny while and I just didn't really mesh with my brain. Yeah. Because it's a lot of like, hurry up and wait. You got to do the job really quickly with like hundreds of people and then you got to stand around for like, 10 hours of the day, sweat dabbing people, And it's like, it's really fun and it's crazy and there's still like a part of me that's like, that's amazing. I still want to do it. I like the chaos of the theatre.
So how did you do that kind of transition like into this level of theatre?
I honestly don't know. It just happened. Yeah. It just happened. I'm from New Zealand, so like most of my career has been there. And I just got a message from a friend one day saying like that they really needed wiggies over here. This was like peak COVID and a bunch of wiggies had like left the industry. Yeah, I just got the message and they were like, send your CV through. So I did and then flew me over for Rouge and I've been here ever since.
Flew you over?
Nice.
It's crazy.
Technically, I'm so special.
I paid. Yeah. Still asked me to come. Yeah. But yeah.
I think it's really interesting. I always ask people like how they got into the industry or like what the pathway was because the question that people ask me the most is like, how do I get jobs, especially in certain departments? Your two departments being the most asked about, to be honest. And I really don't know how to answer that. It's not like a normal job. Like you get hired for an entry position and then you just work your way up to a senior position. You get jobs in the weirdest ways, like a friend telling you that they need people, someone from 5 years ago remembering you and asking you to come and do a new job. Like it's never the same. You kind of just have to start working and people are going to throw things and then whatever sticks will stick. But a big question that somebody had was, do you inherit your prop pieces and wigs? Do you have to source and make them? What special care is needed to protect them throughout a season and a tour?
For this one, we inherited all our stuff from Broadway. Because this version of Beetlejuice is such a mix between the US tour and the Broadway version, it's a real mix of everything. All our sandworm puppets and things like that are all the Broadway ones. We did have to source a few things, which our prop supervisor, Gavin, he's kind of our link between the associate designer in the US. So he usually did like a lot of sourcing if we did have gaps in props and things like that. When they come to us, they were quite water damaged because they've spent time either in a warehouse for the past 5 years or on a ship. You can put as much like silica or like moisture absorbing things into a shipping container, but you're always going to have something go wrong. Yeah, we had a lot of things to kind of replace and make sure that it was show ready, that hadn't rusted through when we did kind of unbox the props for the first time. They basically get delivered to a warehouse, and then Jemima and Gavin kind of looked at them and then brought it into the rehearsal room. We start a bump in of a rehearsal room kind of the week before rehearsals start. Everything's wrapped. So you unwrap everything, you all clean it up, you figure out what needs to go where. And yeah, that's kind of how we get the package from the US. And I'd say it's probably similar on like Groundhog Day. We had a very similar experience as well. All of our stuff was in a warehouse in the UK, all boxed up, gets sent to us, and we just have to unbox it and figure out where to go from there.
Yeah. Whether it needs repairing.
Yeah. Is this a spare? Is this something that we actually need? It's a lot of trial and error.
For wigs, you make a lot of them, right?
Yeah, all of our like printies have custom made wigs. A bunch of the wigs for the ensemble came from Broadway or the tour, and they've just been like refronted and like fixed up for our current cast so that they fit and everything. I think there's like 200 and something wigs.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Something absolutely
It's something
crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Especially with wigs, one of the questions that somebody had was how much collaboration do we have with our associates when we're learning and building a new show? I think sound and props might be a bit similar in that we have an Australian associate who helps be kind of our bridge between us and the American creatives and helps source what our show needs for here. But I imagine that wigs, it's far more personal about like how people look, what their natural hair texture might be. All of those things might go into like a cast specifically will change what you need.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversations that happen before anything happens in the building between the cast and the designers and the associates, because there are so many people involved and it can be a very personal thing. There's a lot of like negotiations and things like that around whether or not cast are comfortable with what they're wearing, if the producers like how it looks, if the designer likes how it looks, if the associates like how it looks, if local creatives like how it looks.
Yeah,
there's so many opinions.
There's a lot of opinions and conversations that happen like pretty consistently from the moment your cast is cast like through to the end of the tour, like it's a continuous thing that keeps happening because it's someone's person and things change. Like people can develop conditions that make wearing wigs a bit harder, stuff like that. It's pretty crazy. It's a lot.
It's a really bizarre thing to do. Like I talk about this a lot with like doing mics. Technically my role is technical, technically technical. We're going in as our department to do a job, but it's really important to remember, and I feel like we're in the dressing rooms at the same time a lot. You're not just going in to go, I need this wig to go on, I need this mic to go on and look like this. You're dealing with a person, like a real person who's concerned about their appearance, who has their own insecurities, who has their own issues, skin, hair, conditions going on. And there's a level of care and gentleness, I guess, you need to have around what's going on, because for us it's to reach a certain goal. It's a technical kind of thing, but for them it's incredibly personal. You kind of touched on it a little bit, Bella, when you were talking about inheriting props. What does the pre-bump in prep look like for your team? It's like sound, we do a build in the warehouse where we will build the entire system, put it together, make sure it works, break it all down before we bump it into the theatre.
It's different depending on like what shows and companies that you're working with. For this, Connie at RHOD and Kylie, the associate for Wigs, they were working on this for like months and months leading up to tech or even like the pre-production kind of stuff. I joined 2 weeks before we started tech. And a lot of the team joined a couple of days after me. We had to build the wig blocks and stuff like that because they're customized for people's head shapes and wigs and stuff. So there was a lot of physical prep that goes into, it's not just like turn up and put a wig on someone's head.
Yeah. There's also a lot of supplies and down to everything. Like you don't just deal with people's wigs. It's like all of their makeup, all of the skincare they use, all of those things you have to consider as well.
On this, we've got a really big team of people and we've all worked together before. It's nice to be able to work in a room where you don't need to constantly be in communication because you already have that level of understanding of each other and what's going to need to be done.
Do you have to do the same kind of like sourcing?
It changes a bit, like because we're involved in rehearsals kind of from day one. It's us and stage management. So we started a week before rehearsals. I think Jemima might have started a few days before I did. Set up the room and then we do rehearsals and this show's quite prop heavy and a lot of puppets and things that we need to like make sure the cast like know how to use, and like we've got cast members that operate puppets as well as us. So there was a lot of just kind of figuring that out, and so that's why it's useful for us to be in rehearsals to help stage management also, because otherwise it would just be so much for stage management to try and look after a brand new cast, and you're kind of learning the show at the same time as the cast, but then you're also kind of need to be one step ahead. So if someone asks you a question, you've got to be like, oh, that's where that goes. It's tricky because you don't even quite know yourself if that's actually where that needs to go. It was a really nice rehearsal process on this one because everyone's quite understanding of that. We do rehearsals and we try and keep the props in the room until the very last minute. From there, we just pack it all up and take it to the theatre. Our bump into the theatre has kind of got a time in, like the next bump in needs to have kind of happened for us to be able to then put things on deck and find spots, or in certain cases, like we've got puppets that we fly in the wings for space to save space on deck. So yeah, there's a lot of then once we get to the theatre, it's a lot of working with the other departments that are there to kind of get our stuff in.
There's always that period of bump in where every department's actually there and we're all on deck going, hang on, but I need space. And we're all like, what can we compromise? What can we share? Yeah. Especially the theatre we're in now, the backstage space is quite
tiny.
squishy. She's skinny. What's your typical pre and post show setup and pack down like, and what's the weekly maintenance for your department?
Pre-show, we kind of get there an hour before the hour. So there's Jemima and I in the props team, and we also have two locals. We kind of like look after a side of the stage each, basically. So Jemima's on stage right, I'm on stage left. We've each got a local. We start kind of half an hour before they do, and we do our preset, but it also gives us a bit of time to like do maintenance and things. If something breaks in the show before and we need time to fix it.
Which you can't just leave it for a Friday, you need it for the next show.
It happens a lot. When things are in constant use, things are going to break. That kind of half an hour gives us that amount of time. We keep doing preset with the locals, so it might just be rearranging furniture from the night before, presetting props on certain like set dressings and things like that. And then post-show, again, there's just like a tiny bit of just packing things down or putting things back on a shelf just so that then the mechs can do what they need to do. Yeah. And when they come in the next day, our stuff isn't in the way, because usually it's our stuff that's in the way. It's annoying because it's bitsy, whereas the mechs just have like big panels and things like that. And then our maintenance on Fridays, usually it's fixing things that are already broken or just like repairing paint jobs and things like that. Or it'll be reinforcing things to make sure that they don't break over time. You're almost preventing things from breaking at the same time as fixing things that are already broken.
And damn shows with umbrellas, first of all.
Oh, fucking umbrellas. Yeah. Poor Jemima. On Poppins, there were also a lot of umbrellas. Yeah. So this is just relentless. And it's used for like 5 minutes. Yeah. Yet we go through so many.
It's always the thing that you use the least or for the shortest amount of time that is actually the most effort for your department.
Gets all caught on their gloves and then you just got like bent umbrellas left, right and centre. It's so silly.
I wanted to ask this question definitely, especially for WHAM, because I think a lot of people have this misconception that you just walk in and you pop on a wig. Like I don't think people really recognise how much work you guys do before and after a show.
Yeah, people do think we just come and put the wigs on and then go home, which I think is a little insane. For a show like this, we're working at least 5 hours like per show. We come in 2 hours before the hour call sometimes, depending on what we need to do, because we do haircuts for some of the cast as well. Prep all the wigs, prep all the makeup, and then we do the show. The hour call is also quite busy for us because, you know, there's a lot of sort of time juggling with other departments and things like that. Like we work a lot with sound, but also like, you know, the cast have to do their warm-ups, they're getting notes at the same time. So there's a lot of like in people's personal spaces quite intimately in the half-hour call. And then, you know, we do the show, we do all the changes and stuff like that because there's a lot of wig and makeup changes in this one, which is really fun.
A lot.
And then I'd say we're there for like 40 minutes post-show. We got to block all the wigs. It's very important. Some of the wigs have to kind of be dressed the night before with certain hair textures if we want that to like dry overnight and come back.
And when you say dress the wig, for those who don't know, what do you mean by that?
So, for example, like the Lydia and Barbara wigs, they have a natural texture to them. So when they come off after a show, we got to do like a full wet down product, get the curl to come back naturally, and then it dries overnight, and then we come in the next day and style it for the show. So it's really fun. I like it. I play with hair. It's great.
And your maintenance?
Washing, setting, restyling, Sometimes there are like little rips and things like that in the foundations of the wigs that get fixed, but usually as long as the wiggies are always handling the wigs are usually in pretty solid condition for the tour. And as the tour goes on, the wigs get older and they're just more prone to damage and stuff like that. So at the moment, it's nice and cushy.
Yeah.
Check back in a few months.
Yeah. I know on other shows I've done, they had people who would come in the day to do maintenance and start working on wigs before the show crew would come in. Do you have that on Beetlejuice too?
We do. We have one lady, Tulloulah. I love her. She comes in on a Thursday and sometimes on a Wednesday and does like a few hours of maintenance with the wigs, and then the show team also come in and do maintenance on Thursdays.
A very common question was, what skills and training do you recommend for your department or position?
I just think so much of this job is being a nice, good person to work with. Just being able to be kind and say yes, and you gotta have to want to be there as well. It does take up so much of your life that you want to have a good attitude when you're there. And like obviously like with the long hours and things like that, people wear down. At the end of it all, we have the silliest jobs. And they really don't feel real half the time. I'll be doing things, I'm like, this is so silly.
This is my job.
That's crazy. And I think that like it's really nice to kind of remember that, because it keeps you in good spirits. Just being nice and easy to work with is a really good skill. But I think technically like there's definitely gaps in my skills. I don't know really how to do maintenance. I'm really learning on the job. And I'm so lucky to have someone like Jemima who has really taken a chance on me and is really helping me through this process. Like I wouldn't be here without her. And it's important to find people like that as well that want to help you build your skills and things like that. Because there are plenty of other people who have done like specialized props training that would be better at that part of my job than I am. I've got other training that kind of like I can do a show, I can put a show together in terms of tech and running a plot and things like that. So that training is useful. Any training is useful, but I think just like wanting to learn and happy to be there, easy to work with is always a nice attitude to have.
I reckon it's like the biggest
thing
to have. Because it's really stressful. Like Saturdays and Sundays can be a lot, and people are just tired and grumpy, and you kind of have to be able to have the ability to be like, okay, maybe you had a go at me, but
this isn't personal.
It's not personal. You're just tired and you're stressed, and that's okay. And you got to be able to like leave it there sometime.
It's a really bizarre like kind of job to be in, because I feel like especially within theatre, it's like you don't necessarily have a certain skill criteria that you have to meet. The skill that you have that can be the most valuable is going, I don't know, but I will learn, and kind of knowing what your strengths are in terms of like lending it to the position that you want to have or that you do have. Like I would say that amongst the sound team, I am definitely the least technically qualified. The rest of the team know so much about sound as a technical element, but I think the place where I have a strength, it's not to say that the rest of them aren't also great at this, but the strength that I have is that I don't consider my job necessarily 100% technical. I really do consider it an interpersonal job, because I deal with the cast so much more than I do any other technical departments, really. And I spend more time with like WHAM and wardrobe than I do with any other technical departments, even with a technical job. But that like need to be having grace for people when they're having a rough time, or knowing to say yes to things, or I'll work on it even when you are stressed, which is something that I'm still actively working on and that I'm not that great at still. Like all the internal dialogue you have when someone brings you a problem, and this is all the reasons why that's not going to work or why it's going to be complicated. Got to keep that in sometimes. And instead just go, I'll come back to you, or like figuring out that
leave it with me.
The way to communicate to somebody that you take their problem seriously, or that you are going to work on it even when you're screaming inside, so that you don't spread that through a company is a really valuable skill.
I find that especially in stage management, it's being able to like read people as well and anticipate, if I tell this person that this is happening, is now the best time to do that? How are they going to react to it? And you really have to like cater your communication to how they react to certain things as well. And it's just like, having that grace for other people, even when you're feeling like shit, it can be really tricky and really tiring.
We're all like playing therapists backstage of like reading each other, like what do they need right now? What do I need right now? Like there are different cast members who respond really well to wanting to know more about like what issues are actually going on. Like if they have a mic issue, some people want to know exactly what's happening, and that is really comforting for them to feel like they're empowered with the knowledge of what's going on. Other people, to tell them
Don't
would
wanna hear about.
stress them out, and you don't need to tell them. Or even like if I have a mic issue and it needs to be something that I have to get to and their mic is under their wig, I'm like, who am I going to bother in WHAM right now? Like who is going to be the least stressed right now?
And who
that I
has
can
the
ask
most
them?
time to kind of deal with this situation?
And the bandwidth to be like, no, it's going to be fine. It's going to be totally okay. Because sometimes people are in or having a shit show and you're like, they don't need that right now.
Yeah.
It's insane, but those moments are the moments I love the most about.
Yeah.
Oh,
working
totally.
in theatre.
Yeah.
Like the stress of having to do something insane in like a really tiny amount of time.
Yeah.
And make sure that nobody clocks it, because you don't really want people to clock it because then they get stressed. I love that.
My favorite
go wrong,
moments backstage are always, and not that I want them to happen, but my favorite moments of chaos are always, it's a very specific situation. It's someone's in this scene, their mic is broken, you need to replace it. They go off stage and they do a 30-second wig and costume change, and then they're back on stage for like a principal moment. Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
Because they're fucked, but then I just go to everybody in that change and I'm like, okay, I really need you guys to help me out. This is what we're going to do. Because the performer, I can't warn them. They've just got to come up and we just got to sort it out. And then when the performer leaves and you've nailed it and they go on stage and the rest of us are standing there, we're like, we did it. That was so sick. And like no one knows and everything is fine. That's like the most satisfying moment
really
of being
is.
backstage. Final question. What do you find the most rewarding and the most challenging about working in this industry and touring in it?
Oh boy. It's so easy to fall down the rabbit hole of challenges. It's a very unique industry in the way that, especially if you're touring, you're in this like weird little bubble.
It's kind of like a school camp in the weirdest way possible. It's like a school camp with adults. You're like, why are we all in this hotel?
We're the adults.
All getting breakfast together. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And you do feel like you're living in each other's pockets a little bit at certain points.
You then spend all of your time with your co-workers.
Yeah.
You spend your free time outside of work, your time before and after work. You're living in the same place. Sometimes you might even be living together. That would put some people in their jobs into a coma to think of spending that much time with their co-workers.
It's so hard to have boundaries with that kind of stuff too. You do hang out with your coworkers outside of work and then you come into work and you have to be different people. Like I'm very close with some people on our team and I have to be a different person outside of work to at work, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm a deputy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's a really interesting balance as well, I think, for people who do hold those positions, like who are deputies or heads of department, to maintain the balance between you're my friend in real life and we do get on really well, but also when we're in this particular setting, I have a position of power and I have an authority here. And part of it is to take care of the people that you're working with. That's a really challenging balance that I'm so grateful I do not have to worry about at this point in my career. I get to just be messy and cry to Anthony every day and it's his problem.
There's so much that I have to remember when things are kind of hard or there's challenges, like in terms of it might just be managing other people being tired along with yourself being tired because you are working these crazy hours. But I remember in Poppins, I had to do like the magic carpet bag and like you're feeding like props up through this little hole. You feel so stupid because you're like, I'm literally just sitting on the floor passing things through a hole. But you're like, hear kids in the audience go like, whoa.
Yeah.
And that is just so funny.
Especially on Poppins. I swung Poppins in Sydney and hearing little kids react to the show
just so
was the most
funny.
wholesome thing. People do it on this show now as well. Like you can hear sometimes the audience members react to the show and that's so satisfying.
Yeah. And it's just like, that's so cool. My job's to make other people happy. There's not many people that can say that. It's a special thing to remember, even when it's all going to shit. It can still suck.
That's
And it can feel like it's the end of the world because we live in the pocket of our job. Like every issue feels like it is the biggest thing and it is so stressful and so overwhelming. But then I think it's a good combination to remember that like what we're doing is making sure the audience has a good time. So if they're having a good time, our job is done.
Yeah.
And that there is like an element of humbling ourselves to remember that what we're doing is not the most important thing in the world.
It's not hard.
Yeah,
to
so like play with wigs. 50 hours a week.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing to hold in a balance of like, yes, what we're doing is incredibly important. It's incredibly important to us. To a lot of the audience members, it's incredibly important to them as well. But when it gets too stressful, sometimes, or when I'm like this is all fucked. Oh my God. Sometimes I just look out onto stage and I look at what we're all doing and I'm like, we're at work right now.
This is
We're at
fun,
work right
actually.
now. And this person has no arms, especially working on like a silly show like Beetlejuice that's so like goofy and fun, which is nice, especially after, I don't know what the vibe kind of was with Rouge, but Tina was a heavy show.
I'm lucky that Rouge for me is always going to be like a very special thing because like it was stressful. It was one of the hardest times of my life.
Also, the wigs on that show are so
Gorgeous.
elaborate.
Insane. I loved them
They're
so much.
so-
For me, that show holds so many both good and bad memories. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. I really would because it was just insane. I met my partner on that show and I've made so many good friends from that show. It's the show that I would say like changed the trajectory of my career and my life. Like I moved countries for it. That's insane. But it was so stressful.
I feel like the really stressful ones are the most rewarding because I think the greatest quality you can have in this industry and why you would be right for it is if you really get validation from succeeding at something that was previously difficult. Alex and Gio were talking about when you learn a call or you learn to operate and it's a really difficult part, that going, oh fuck, and then nailing it is like so satisfying.
Yeah.
And I think that exists across the board in every department, cast, crew in theatre. If you've got that, this is the industry for you because it will be feeling like it's impossible or you'll be given an amount of information that seems impossible to work with. And then at the end of it, you're like, we
I
fucking
did
did that.
Yeah.
So cool.
And you do that with a group of people and that is the most satisfying thing in the world.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Working backstage, it is very much a part of our job to stay out of the light, and I'm so incredibly grateful to those who are willing to jump in front of the camera and behind the mic to share with us. I hope that you are as inspired by their experiences and their knowledge as I am. Q2Q episodes can be found on Spotify and on YouTube, and exclusive Q2Q content can be found on my Patreon. Spotify, YouTube, and Patreon are not only the best places to find more Q2Q content, but also to ask your questions to future guests on the podcast.